Oh no, they really did it. The streets are buzzing, the blogs are melting, and hip-hop just got slapped with a headline straight out of a Netflix crime series. Trippieredd reacts after a life sentence gets handed down in the murder of 6ix9ine's girlfriend. Yeah, you heard that right, life sentence? The kind of words that turn rap beef into true crime legend status. But hold up, how did we even get here? Wasn't this supposed to be just another rapper beef, a few diss tracks, some petty IG lives? When did it evolve into murder trials, life sentences, and rappers low-key shaking in their designer boots? And why is Trippie, of all people, sitting front row for the messiest courtroom drama of 2025? Because let's be real, this ain't just music industry drama. This is betrayal, blood, and big money consequences colliding in a way only hip-hop history can deliver. We're talking about the kind of beef where ex-girlfriends get weaponized. Gang ties spill into headlines, and courtrooms feel like boxing rings. So buckle up, because today we're breaking down how one of rap's nastiest feuds spiraled all the way into a murder conviction, and what Trippie's shocking reaction really means. So here's the setup, family. We've got Trippieredd, the red-haired wild child of rap, who built his brand off heartbreak melodies and chaotic energy, suddenly dragged back into the darkest chapter of his career. And at the center of it all, none other than his eternal nemesis Daniel Hernandez, a.k.a. 6ix9ine. The rainbow-haired troll king who's been flipping the rap game upside down since 2017. Now, let's not sugarcoat this. These two weren't just rivals. They weren't just trading memes and corny bars on Twitter. Nah, this was full-blown warfare, setups, gang members, and at least one federal trial where 6ix9ine proudly stood in court pointing fingers like he was auditioning for Law and Order, SVU, and the latest twist? 6ix9ine's girlfriend gets caught in the crossfire, gunned down in what investigators are calling a targeted execution. The courtroom verdict? Life sentence handed down, the shocking part. The streets are whispering that Trippieredd might be closer to this mess than anybody wants to admit. But don't twist it, we're not saying he pulled the trigger. The narrative floating around is way nastier. Years of pent-up hatred, betrayals, and that infamous 2017 XXL class tension finally boiling over into an act that feels straight out of a hip-hop Greek tragedy. Think about it. This feud started with a collab track, Polls 1469, where both rappers looked like brothers ready to take over SoundCloud. And then, the cracks formed the second 6ix9ine's past hit the news, those disturbing charges that made Trippie say, "Nah, I can't cosign this dude." From that moment forward, the so-called friendship was dead. Trippie went public, calling out 6ix9ine in the rawest ways possible, and 6ix9ine clapped back not with words but with fists, or rather, the fists of his 9-tray homies who jumped. Trippie at a New York hotel, that wasn't just petty rapper beef. That was orchestrated, gang-sanctioned violence. And when 6ix9ine finally admitted in federal court years later that he ordered the hit, that sealed the narrative. This wasn't about music. It was about ego, betrayal, and power. Fast forward a few years, Trippie's still climbing the charts, dropping albums with titles like A Love Letter to You while simultaneously dropping subliminals on Instagram Lives. Meanwhile, 6ix9ine out here flaunting cars, chains, and police protection, all while beefing with anyone who breathed sideways at him. Their feud became hip-hop's version of Tom and Jerry, except instead of frying pans and mousetraps, we're talking Glocks, indictments, and snitch memes. And then in 2025, the storyline hit a point of no return. The murder of Ariela, aka Langosta, 6ix9ine's close companion and rumored lover. She wasn't just another Instagram model. She had roots in New York's nightlife, she was respected, and she was known for holding her own. When she was gunned down in her G-Wagon on the Cross County Parkway, the hip-hop world froze. This wasn't random. This wasn't an accident. Authorities confirmed it was a targeted hit. And suddenly, all eyes went right back to the toxic stew of 6ix9ine's enemies. Because when you're Tekashi, every beef you ever started leaves a trail of suspects longer than a CVS receipt. But here's where the twist comes in. The name that kept bubbling up in whispers, forums, and IG comments. Wasn't just gang retaliation or random ops. Nope, it was trippieredd. Why? Because their beef has always been personal. Family insults, girlfriend betrayals, diss tracks that cut too close to home. Remember when 6ix9ine paraded Trippie's ex around just to humiliate him? Or when Trippie accused 6ix9ine of being untouchable only because of federal protection? This wasn't a rap battle anymore, it was generational bad blood. So when the hammer came down in court with that life sentence, the cameras weren't just on the defense table. They were on Trippie waiting for his reaction, his words, his told you so. Because in the twisted narrative of hip-hop beefs, his silence or his smirk could mean more than any verdict ever could. So let's break this down like we're dissecting a crime scene. Because the receipts, the leaks, and the so-called anonymous insiders are painting a picture messier than a TMZ comment section. First off, the prosecution's story was wild enough to be scripted for a Hulu limited series. They laid out surveillance footage, ballistics reports, and even claimed they had wiretaps of coded conversations between gang affiliates discussing a big fish fry. And guess who was the fish? Yep, Ariela 6ix9ine's girlfriend. Now here's where things get suspicious. Multiple leaked documents online, take them with a grain of salt, because you know the internet alleged that money changed hands weeks before the murder. 6 figures, cash moving through shell companies tied to nightclubs in Miami and Atlanta. The blogs ran with it, suggesting the payout was connected to a hit. And when you trace the gossip trail far enough, the whispers always circled back to Trippie's orbit. Of course, Trippie himself never said, "Yeah, I ordered that." But come on, the sarcastic Instagram post he dropped right after the sentencing didn't help. Picture this, a black screen, with the words "Poetic Justice" in dripping red letters. No names, no context, just enough to set the internet on fire. Fans went nuts. Was he celebrating? Was he trolling 6ix9ine? Or was it his way of saying, checkmate? Let's not forget, this is the same Trippie who once rapped, "They gon' meet karma in the fast lane." Coincidence? Maybe, or maybe. The man's been foreshadowing this plot twist for years, and the public reaction. Chaos. Twitter spaces were lit like a versus battle. Some fans are convinced Trippie orchestrated the whole downfall, like some anime villain pulling strings in the background. Others are screaming that this is just another example of the system scapegoating rappers for crimes they didn't commit. One fake insider even told a gossip blog, Trippie didn't need to lift a finger, the streets handled it for him. All he had to do was sit back and let karma work. Sounds like a conspiracy theory, but in the age of viral TikToks, it doesn't take facts to start a narrative, just a juicy quote and some moody background music. Meanwhile, 6ix9ine's camp was reportedly in shambles. His legal team gave statements about justice served, but insiders claimed he was pacing around his penthouse like a caged tiger, screaming that the streets had officially snatched away his queen. And you know how Tekashi is every tragedy turns into an Instagram live performance. He allegedly threatened to expose everybody if more dirt comes out. Spoiler alert, the man already exposed half the industry during his federal trial. Who's left to snitch on? Mickey Mouse. And while the circus continued online, the real-world consequences started stacking up. Promoters quietly backed out of booking Trippie for certain festivals, afraid the headlines would scare away sponsors. On the flip side, streams of his music spiked. Because let's be real, nothing drives rap numbers like controversy. People suddenly revisited old diss tracks, looking for hidden messages, decoding bars like it was the Da Vinci Code, Reddit threads. YouTube conspiracies, TikTok detectives, everybody became a self-proclaimed private investigator. Did Trippie's chain in that one music video foreshadow a coffin? Was Ariela's last Instagram story a cry for help? Was the life sentence more about silencing enemies than delivering justice? The theories piled up faster than Spotify playlists. And here's the kicker, even politicians chimed in. A New York councilman called the case a reflection of gang culture's chokehold on youth. Translation: he saw an opportunity to clout chase off hip-hop tragedy. The same people who secretly blast 6ix9ine in at their kids' birthday parties now acting like moral authorities? But the streets? They weren't buying it. As one anonymous Brooklyn local told a reporter, the courts can say whatever they want. Everybody knows this beef been cursed from day one. Somebody was always gonna end up dead or in jail. And just like that, the narrative shifted from a single murder case into a cultural autopsy on the entire rap game. The question wasn't just who did it, but who's next. Because if history tells us anything in hip-hop beef, the story never ends with one headline. It spirals, and this spiral? Oh, it's only just getting started. And here's where the story turns from messy to catastrophic. Because a life sentence isn't just a legal ruling, it's a ripple effect that slams into every corner of the culture. First, the legal fallout. Prosecutors aren't done. Word on the street is that the feds are circling, digging into financial trails, phone records, and even old gang beefs to see if this case connects to bigger organized crime. Think Rico 2.0, the sequel nobody asked for, but the government loves to premiere when rappers are involved. If Trippie's name shows up anywhere in those files, even by association, you already know the headlines will be merciless. From rockstar to racketeer practically writes itself. Meanwhile, industry insiders are panicking. Labels are quietly putting distance between themselves and anyone tied to this mess. Concert venues? Suddenly under renovation when Trippie's team calls. Sponsors? Acting like they never even heard Love Scars. But here's the irony. Every cancellation only fuels curiosity. The YouTube views climb higher. The Spotify numbers spike. And the very scandal that should have ended careers is putting money in pockets. Controversy sells, baby, and nothing. Sells harder than blood and betrayal. Now the public backlash. Social media is split down the middle. Half the internet is saying, this is what happens when you play with gang culture. You either snitch, get smoked, or do life. The other half? They're calling cap on the entire trial, saying the life sentence is less about justice and more about making an example out of someone in the rap game. One viral TikTok even put it perfectly. When rappers beef, the streets bleed. When politicians beef, the stock market bleeds. Guess which one they actually care about? And then there's 6ix9ine, his reaction? Nuclear. Reports claim he's threatening lawsuits, claiming conspiracies, and vowing to expose a list of rappers who orchestrated this. You'd think after snitching on half the 9 Trey Bloods, he'd have no bullets left in the chamber. But apparently, Tekashi always keeps receipts. Whether they're real or not doesn't even matter. In the court of public opinion, perception is everything. But here's the darkest this video of all. The cycle. This case doesn't end with one life sentence. It sparks more paranoia, more grudges, more retaliation. Already, whispers of street revenge are circulating. Anonymous sources online claim certain crews feel justice wasn't served and are plotting their own brand of payback. Translation. The violence might not be over, it might just be shifting players. And that leaves us with the chilling question nobody in the industry wants to answer. Who's next? Because in hip-hop, beef doesn't die with a verdict, it mutates. It spreads. And if Trippie's reaction really was more than trolling? If 6ix9ine really does decide to light more fuses? Then the culture better brace itself. This isn't just another rap feud anymore. This is hip-hop's Cold War, and like every Cold War, it's only one wrong move away from exploding. So here's the real question. Fam, is this the final chapter in the Trippie versus 6ix9ine saga, or just the opening act of something way darker? Did justice truly get served, or did the system just pick its favorite villain? And most importantly, how many more names are about to get dragged into this firestorm? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear all the theories. Smash that like button if you're ready for the next twist, and subscribe because trust me, this story is only getting deeper.